So we've had an episode on digital engineering. How does the LSAR connect to digital engineering?
Okay, so we've spoken about reliability data. So the mean time between failure rate. So how often are we going to predict that something will fail? I mentioned FMECA earlier, so that's the failure mode, effect and criticality analysis. So what will cause a failure? What is the effect and the criticality? We've spoken about the annual operating requirements. So how often are we going to use the equipment? Scheduled and unscheduled maintenance tasks, parts, ranging and scaling. All of this data from the LSAR can be fed into a digital twin to help the digital engineering concept. The results of the digital engineering can then be fed back into the LSAR, drive improvements, and the result in LSAR changes can then be fed back into the digital twin. So it's a continual cycle to develop the optimum solution.
Modeling things like cost and carbon emissions, how does the LSAR sort of help with those?
A lot of the data required to perform cost and carbon modeling analysis is or can be held in the LSAR. The range and quantity of spares, as we've previously talked about, but also the cost of each of those spares can be held. Facilities information, maintenance tasks, including manpower, man hours, task spares requirement, maintenance task times, task frequency, mean time to repair, annual operating requirements. All that information is held in the LSAR.
Okay.
So that can definitely help with modelling cost, and I suppose carbon too.
Okay, so you were talking earlier about how it used to not be digital and used to be reams and reams of paper. How has it gone from being a backroom sort of document to something more dynamic?
Yeah, so back in the 1970s, when Mill Standard 1388 was first introduced, as I said earlier, each table record was held in paper format. And I've worked with people who used to manage LSARs when that was the norm. As you can imagine, for a large project, you mentioned ships and aircraft earlier, that would have taken up a lot of space and time and effort, not only to initially populate it, but to update or replace the records as the design or the support changed. Nowadays, LSAR are electronic databases, vastly reducing the time taken, not just to access the records, but to update them as well. They can be linked to third-party software, so processes can become automated or semi-automated, like the production of the technical publications that we talked about earlier. Spares modelling is also popular as bolt-on software and is used widely throughout the industry.
Long it must have taken to, I want to know something, I need to know something about this piece, how they then would have to, I imagine it would have been stored in a sort of locked away sort of facility and then you have to find the person that's in charge of it. Then that person has to go and find the right cupboard that's got the right sort of paperwork in there. There's so many headaches. It must be so easy now, like compared to when you first started out in LSA. Is it sort of like chalk and cheese, like night and day working on them now than it used to be?
Well, fortunately, I wasn't working back in the 1970s.
No,
I was still at school. But certainly they've evolved. So when I first started working in LSARs, yes, there was an interactive link between the LSAR and the technical publications and the initial provisioning. But nowadays, we talked about modelling and linking to other sort of third-party software. That wasn't used when I first sort of got into this in 2000. I think it was.
Right. Okay. So why would anyone outside of the engineering teams care about an LSAR? Why should they care about an LSAR and what it does?
Well, I care, but provisioning departments, as an example, they should care. It'll save them manpower. It'll help them purchase the correct spares and hold the correct quantities. It'll ensure that the spares that are held in storage are correctly inspected and at the correct intervals, meaning the reduction of spares being discarded because they haven't been maintained in storage properly or they've exceeded their shelf life. It'll also help with packaging requirements and the amount of space required to store the items. The LSAR not only holds the equipment dimensions, but also the packaging information, including dimensions and weights. It'll ensure the correct infrastructure is in place within the storage facility. So The facilities area in the LSAR contains data elements describing the infrastructure that's required. And not just for repair facilities, but for storage facilities as well.
That was a clip from the Briefing Room podcast, and you can watch the full episode here if you liked it. There it is. It should be a little box. I'll just get out of the way, and I'll let you click or use your finger if you're on your phone to click on it, or if you're on a TV you can somehow navigate on the controller to get to it, or if you're on a laptop you can just move your mouse right up there and press